Hi parents. I made this video to kind of help parents because it's about beginning of the year, second or third week, that we start to see grades and how our kids are doing. And we begin to realize that things are going astray. So this video is entitled When Things Go Astray in Math. Now, this is not a general what you can do to help your child in math. This is more specific to my classroom, okay? So if you're a parent who stumbled onto this, there might be a few tips here and there to help you. The general philosophy behind it might help you. But either way, this is specific to my room, okay, my 6th grade math. Okay, now, a couple things to keep in mind. That the good old-fashioned way still works, okay? Even though I am 100% digital in my classroom and using the iPod and all that wonderful stuff, the old-fashioned way still works, okay? You don't need any internet to help your child. You don't need an iPad to help your child. Really, it's just a matter of good old-fashioned book, paper, and one-on-one child-parent time. Really, this is what it comes down to. Technology or no technology, it is basically parenting, sitting down with your child and giving them that one-on-one time. I understand that it can be very difficult when both parents work or we're in different situations. It is difficult, but in the long run, it is worth it because your child will grow from it and it will pay off for them in the future, okay? So anyways, the good old-fashioned way works. Now, I'm going to give us a couple scenarios and situations, okay? The first situation that I often encounter parents telling me is, you know, my child forgets everything, okay? So let's say your child forgets everything. Well, here's a couple things you can do to help your child. First of all, avoid anger and frustration. Okay, avoid anger and frustration. It's not going to help, and it gets frustrating when they constantly forget stuff, okay? But that's part of parenting and part of a child growing up. Don't be embarrassed to let them know it is unacceptable. Some parents, you know, sometimes we like to walk delicately because they've had a long day in school and, you know, there's things going on. But don't be embarrassed and don't be afraid to look at them and say, this is unacceptable. I will not accept, I forget, okay? Once in a while, we can all accept it because we all do it. But generally, it's not, you know, it's okay to do that. Now, the one thing that happens is sometimes students will intentionally forget homework because they know parents will relent and not push them. One of the things that is very effective is called mandatory homework time. And this means that if your child is a chronic forgetter, not bringing home anything, you can sit them down at the table with a piece of blank paper and say to them, I'm going to give you mandatory homework then. I know Mr. Triola is going to assign homework 2 or 3 times a week, sometimes 4, and it's about a half hour each night. You're going to sit here for a half hour and you're going to do math problems that I give you. All right? Any parent can make up math problems and you can sit there with your child, and I guarantee you that if they are a chronic forgetter, they will change their ways when they realize they're going to have to do work, double the work, because they'll have to also do the homework that they don't bring home along with the mandatory. So mandatory homework is a very good final straw. Stop forgetting everything. This is going to happen. The next thing is look on Schoology. If your child forgets everything, look on Schoology. Schoology contains all you need to help your child. There are PDFs, and they're always posted. No printer is needed, okay? You don't have to have a printed worksheet. Your child can read from the online PDF, write their answers in a notebook, and then bring that in and submit their answers from the notebook. You don't have to print anything. You can also go to the Pearson Realize materials, all worksheets, videos, and even the book is found in digital form on Pearson, and you have access to all the same materials I do, minus the answer keys, okay? When you go to Pearson. A letter was sent home at the beginning of the school year, the first week. I also posted this information on Schoology. So you can go back to updates for the first week of school. Insist that your child fill in their agenda book. Old school agenda book, have them fill it in, have them bring home their book. Set up a reminder on their iPad so that it goes off every day at 3:45 or 3:44, so that it goes off and they're at their locker and they're like, uh-oh, bring home math material, okay? Or all material. So that's if your child forgets everything. Again, I want to emphasize that on Schoology, okay, you will find in updates the actual PDFs of worksheets that we are doing that day. And they can open these PDFs if they're absent, if they forget something. And they can just, you don't have to print it. They can send it to Notability, or they can take the answers and write them in their books, okay? So you don't have to worry about that, okay? You also get instructions on there along with videos, okay, that will help your child understand the material. Okay, so these videos are kind of nice because
what we're going to do.
I then have a video posted of what we did in class. Sometimes they're the actual lesson from the day, sometimes they're professionally made videos. So if they're forgetting stuff, like their book and their worksheets, it's all on Schoology, okay? So anyways, what I want to do is go back to our presentation, and let's talk about situation number 2. Your child doesn't understand the homework, okay? He or she is just confused. They sit down, they look at this worksheet, and it's like, oh my goodness, okay? Well, first of all, I want to emphasize is, again, avoid anger and frustration. It's tough when you don't understand something and you're a child. And don't be embarrassed, because sometimes as parents, we look at those worksheets and we're like, I have no idea how to do this. I, as a parent, when my son got up above geometry and into trig and calculus, I had to go back and get on YouTube and refresh my memory so that I could help him. Don't be embarrassed by that. It's very common, okay? The other thing that you can do is look on Schoology for those posted videos. They oftentimes include information that helps them with the homework, because one of the things that I really try to do often is to incorporate some of the actual homework problems into what we're doing in class. That way when they see it, they're like, oh yeah, I remember that, it looks familiar. And there will be a few of them that we had done in class, and they'll be able to work themselves through it. So look for the videos on Schoology. They actually have a lot of information that will help your child understand it, as well as parents, okay? Look on YouTube for possible helps. If I don't post a video, then look on YouTube, okay? If the internet doesn't exist where you're at, trust me, I can appreciate it. Ours goes down a lot. Guess what? Get out the book, get out their notes, and have an old-fashioned sit-down, work-together session, okay? Again, most of the worksheets that your child gets will have 75% of their problems set up so that they're just basic problems the way you experienced them as a child, and then another 25%, which are the word problems and closer to the Common Core application of math. So you can still do the traditional sit down with the book, go over it with them if you can't find videos and stuff. Okay, so that's situation number 2, if they don't understand the work. Remember, again, one of the things I want to emphasize is that on Schoology, okay, on Schoology, I will often post videos that will take your child to the understanding that they need in order to get the concepts. Okay? So, anyways, let's go back to the presentation, okay? And let's look at situation number 3. This is a good one, okay? You have Power School shock. All of a sudden, you look on Power School and you see a bad math grade. It's like, how did you go from a B+ to a C-, okay? Happens a lot, okay? But anyways, first of all, what I suggest is you look at the assignment notes to find out what happened to the assignment. So if you go into Power School and you see the grade is dropped and then you see an F, look at the notes attached to the assignment. That oftentimes will explain to you what went wrong, okay? It's not going to go into detail. I'm not going to explain notes on every assignment. Oh, you know, he didn't carry and regroup and all that. It doesn't go into that detail. It goes into a general statement which pretty much addresses most bad grades, okay? Take the assignment name, all right? So you find the assignment, take the assignment name and look it up in materials on Schoology. Okay, so you see a 0 in Power School. Then what you should do is you should look at the assignment name. Assignment names will always begin with a hashtag and a number, and then a topic or title for the assignment, such as number, hashtag 12, topic 15, and it'll probably say something like practice, daily common core, whatever. And this hashtag number is your ticket to finding it very, very quickly in Schoology materials, okay? So that hashtag number is, and it'll be the same title in Schoology as it is in Power School, okay? Now, the big thing is this. Look it up, take the assignment name, and look it up in materials on Schoology. See if it is done. If it's not done, well then of course then you have your child sit down and you do it. If it is done and you look at it, chances are they didn't submit it, because many times I will have kids who will look at their parents and say, I did this, and their parents were like, okay, you did it. And then he'll open it or she'll open it and it's like, yep, you did it, and everybody closes it up, and then they, the next day the poor child comes in and says, Mr. Straw, my parents are all over me about this grade and it won't appear in Power School. I open it up and say, that's because you never submitted it. You didn't hit the button that says submit. That's really important, okay? So look at the assignments and the notes in them. Find out if it was just a matter of them forgetting it, not turning it in. They might have been absent. Then go to materials. And then the other thing is that remember that some grades are closed, okay? The color code will be in charcoal gray and still have your child do it then. Okay, so if you go to Power School and you go to materials and they didn't do it, but you look on Power School and you're pretty savvy and you read that the notes say grade is closed or final score, that means that I just am not going back to that assignment looking for missing work. That means it's on the child and the parent to turn it in and then send me a message on Schoology saying, we've turned this in, could you please update a score? If it is in with the boundaries of school policy, I will do it. I do accept work late within a reasonable time. See the student handbook. Okay, we have this, the student handbook outlines what the expectations are for homework and assignments and missing work. I try to be as lenient as I can and as understanding as I can with kids and parents. But there is a point where I have to say, no, I can't accept this. It is pushing the boundaries too far of the rules, okay? So I try to be as flexible as I can, and we're encouraged to try to meet kids where they're at. And sometimes that means just kind of like saying, okay, give it another shot and see what we can do. Okay, so if you have Power School shock, that's what you want to look into. Now, I'm going to go a little bit more into Power School because that's one of the things that parents are most concerned with. Now, this is what Power School looks like for me. When I put in grades into Power School, here you have that charcoal gray. That means that all the kids have submitted the assignments for that, or they didn't submit all the assignments for it. It's a different color. Now, in this case, this is one student's assignments, okay, as I would see them. And I could see, okay, well, this student is doing this kind of work, but right here I have these coded. Okay, so there's an orange, a red, and a green. That orange means that the student it's incomplete. And then the red means that it's missing, and the green means they were absent. So this green tells me they were absent that day. They never submitted their work, and it's incomplete. Hasn't been turned in. So I kind of mark it. Then I put in comments here. for parents, okay? So this is what I'm looking at, but what you're looking at when your child brings it up on Power School is generally something like this, okay? You can see that, you know, you have your child's overall math grade and their overall percent. Then it has the assignments listed. Notice the hashtag, okay? It's the exact same hashtag you're going to find in Schoology. It tells you what they scored on it, and it tells you they got whatever, okay? And so when you're looking at this assignment, you can see that, you know, they have number 11, topic 1.5. It was updated from Schoology, and when it says updated from Schoology, that means I intentionally went and made sure it was synced, okay? And then you have number 10, topic 1.4, practice. Oh no, 0 out of 14. That's a bad one. Well, 0, you know, there's an F. This is the thing that's going to like jump out at mom and dad. Here's why. 0 out of 14. Well, why did they get 0 out of 14? Well, it was late and it's missing. That's that color code that I put in there. Late means that, you know, they turned it in late. Missing means they haven't turned it in at all. So sometimes when I give you a code of missing and late, it means that it's late, it's past due, and it still hasn't been turned in yet. When it is turned in, the missing will oftentimes go away, but the late remains there as documentation of your child's responsibility in getting assignments done, which is important for an overall profile of how your child's doing. Now, notice that this one says second update. Second update means that I've gone in there once and updated things. They've been synced once. I've gone in and looked at them, comparing Schoology and Power School, and I've said, okay, I have officially, my job, checked their grades from Power School to Schoology. I then, a day or two later, will go back in there and I will give it a second visual update, okay? Not relying on the technology, relying on me. And I will say, okay, what's missing, what's going on? At that point, I mark it as a second update. I accept scores, put them in, if they're, you know, I adjust things. But then, you'll notice with this one down there, it says scores final. That means I have checked 3 times for assignments, missing assignments, and I've decided I can't, you know, it's beyond the school recommended time for giving children for getting work done. Okay, so I will mark it as schools final, scores final, and I will not go back. Once I mark it scores final, I don't go back anymore to an assignment on Schoology and see who completed it and then go back. That's just way too, it's inappropriate is what it is for me to enable a child like that. So, you know, I leave it on the child at that point, and I tell the child, well, you know, okay, something happened, you know, this is going on at home. You need to get it in, and then send me a message on Schoology telling me you did it, because if you don't, I'm just not going back to see if it is. It might get updated automatically through syncing. It might not, okay? So, anyways, that's what scores final mean. So, anyways, this is the big thing. If you see an F, all right, you want to look for the color coding, and then you want to read the notes. Like this one, it says not submitted as of 9/11/19. That would have been the first time I checked it from Schoology. Then it says not submitted 9/13. That means I checked it a second time. And then I have some notes in there. It says student was allowed to, and usually it says student was allowed to turn it in multiple times and did not. Okay? So that's kind of how the grading works in Schoology, all right? Now, I want to emphasize, again, in Schoology, that everything is provided for your child. And when they turn in stuff, they can go to materials, okay? So if I come on up here, and I'm going to go to a course, I'll go to my math course in course 1, okay? And I'll open it, and I'll give you an idea of what it looks like, okay? Here are the updates. If your child's absent, it gives them all the information they need for what went on in class. It gives them videos. It tells them the homework assignment. Move it up a little bit. And this is kind of tough for you to see. I realize that. Gives the date, gives you the homework. Any other information for long-term projects is given. And then it's the agenda, what we've done each day, okay? then the PDF, then the video, okay? And again, it's topic 1-7 practice PDF, all right? And so this is given to your child. And then if you want to say, okay, well, we're going to get to the bottom of this, we're going to get some materials turned in, you go to the materials tab, okay? And you see the assignments. And when you look at them, you can see they've got that hashtag right here, and then another number or perhaps letter that indicates what it is. So like this is hashtag 15, topic 1-6 practice, okay? And then your child can open that up and begin submitting the answers digitally from home. If it's an assignment that was closed, in other words, I've updated it more than once, a second time, it goes into the quarter 1 folder or quarter 2 folder. That folder contains every assignment that we've done so far. I've just simply moved it into a folder so that it's no longer out in the main section confusing kids who are already done with their work. Okay, so that's why I have this quarter 1 materials. When everybody's done with an assignment, or I'm no longer updating it manually because enough time's been given, I move it into that folder. Doesn't mean that the child still can't do it. It just means that I'm not looking for it anymore, okay? And they need to tell me that they've gone back in and they've done that. I'm usually pretty good about updating grades and forgiving kids for making mistakes, okay? So anyways, again, that's Schoology. Now, one last slide I'd like to go over, because sometimes you do find this situation. Your child is the perfect child. They just don't understand the concepts. That's understandable, okay? That's very understandable, okay? They just struggle, okay? How can you help them? Well, one way you can help them is sit with them and watch the videos, stopping and starting the videos and explaining what they're learning. Just sit down and go back over the videos with them and say, okay, honey, this is what it looks like. Okay, bud, this is what we need to do here. This is what a so you sit with them and you just go over the material with them. Sometimes just that warm, nurturing companionship from a parent or an adult is all they need to feel comfortable and get a little bit better understanding of the material. Okay, another thing is that you can have them practice their calculations. Sit with them, give them problems, have them do them, have them check them with a calculator, and just help them with their calculations. Calculating requires least about a function in the brain when it comes to mathematics. But it's one of those things where kids get nervous when they're doing it and they go astray on it, okay? So just have them practice their calculations. That's enough to sometimes make them not nervous in math class, which allows them to be more comfortable and learn more. Search the concepts, okay? If if the material, you've watched the videos and it's like, man, Triola, you explained it to them in class. I've tried to explain it to them again. It might just be explained in a grade level too much for them. So in that case, search at a grade level below 6th grade. Go on YouTube and look for videos and put in 5th grade. So 5th grade, adding and subtracting fractions. 5th grade, geometry, okay, finding area, 5th grade. Then it'll be explained in a lower level, and sometimes that fills in learning gaps that exist, okay? It's kind of it's a useful tool. Now, the last thing I would suggest if your child is just plain old struggling, don't try to fix what has already been broken, okay? In other words, don't try to go back to, something they didn't learn, whatever. Try this. Try pre-teaching. Pre-teaching the materials so that when I cover it 2 or 3 times, it's already within their understanding. So in other words, I follow the book and the curriculum. And the curriculum, of course, I follow the curriculum. The curriculum follows the book, the Pearson book. You can say, okay, we're going to take some time each night and we're going to look at the next lesson coming up, or the lesson that's coming up 2 days from now. If I'm on lesson 1.5, 1.7 is coming up. Go to 1.7 and just kind of sit with your child. You're putting them to bed, take out the math book and say, okay, let's just look at this. Let's just talk about it, okay? Don't go into great detail. Don't make it a demanding situation. Just kind of say, okay, here's the vocabulary. Here's some examples. This is what it means. close it up, put it aside. Okay, 10, 15 minutes of this pre-teaching. That way when the child gets to me, they have a comfortable understanding. They're in a comfort zone and they're like, okay, yeah, that makes sense. Mom and dad, mom, whoever explained it to me. Okay? So anyways, that's a pretty lengthy video on what you can do when things go astray in math. Again, I encourage you to remember that the good old-fashioned way, no internet, no iPad, is still the best way to help your child, and that's one-on-one interaction with a parent or an adult who cares. Okay? Anyways, good luck, and thank you for watching the video.